Shalom Aleichem, everybody, and a good Erev Shabbos and Erev Rosh Chodesh, good Erev Rosh Chodesh, a good Mazel Tov to Jason and Rebecca Katz and their chasna that took place this week. That just came back from the wedding from the States. I wanted to share with you a brief idea in Parshas Chukas. There are three stories, episodes that occur in the parsha that seem to be a striking paradox, yet there might be a theme that underlies them. The first paradox, of course, comes to Zos Chukas Torah, the Parah Aduma itself. And we know the famous Chazal tell us that the Mechatas, the Parah Aduma, the ash, the Parah Aduma in the water, the Azov themselves, they engender the Tahara of the person who's Tamei Meis, but that very same process engenders Tumah into the Kohen that is going ahead and fulfilling the ritual of the Tahara of the person's Tamei Meis. Very striking paradox. It's metame es hatahirim and metar es hatameim. Exactly how does that work, and what's the message in that concept? Second paradox you find is this is the parsha. We have the enigmatic story of the Chet of Moshe Rabbeinu. He hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. Well, that too, Mefarshim grapple. The Orach Chaim cites 10 different pshatim on what exactly was the Chet of Moshe. It's very cryptic in the psukim, but there's also an element of paradox there as well. Because indeed, if you take a look at Parshas Beshalach, there the nation was also thirsty, needed water, and Moshe is instructed to hit the rock. And that's exactly what he does. Over here in this week's parsha, he's instructed to speak to the rock, and he hits the rock. He does exactly the same thing over there that he did in Parshas Beshalach, which is 100% fine, and all of a sudden now it's problematic. Finally, there is a magefa that befalls the people in this week's parsha, and these they complain about food. They start to complain, and the chashim emerge. The chashim bite the people, and there's a magefa that kill them. There's a tremendous death that takes place. They plead, Moshe Rabbeinu pleads to Hashem, and Hashem says, "Go ahead and build this structure, this symbol, and the symbol is snakes." And anyone who is stricken by these snakes that actually bit the people, they will look at these nechash nechoshes, these bronze snakes, and they will achieve a cure. So how exactly does that work? The nechashim were the ones that actually bit the people, and all of a sudden the nechash nechoshes is that which goes ahead and is going to be the cure. So all three cases, a striking paradox. The paradox of Parah Aduma, the paradox of the Chet of Moshe hitting the rock versus speaking the rock. Once it was okay, now it's not okay. And finally, the paradox of the Nechashim, which were the source of the plague and then become the source of the refuah. So this theme perhaps is the very essence of Zos Chukas HaTorah. And just to explain a little bit further, there's an interesting Gemara. The Gemara is found in Maseches Brachos on Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph, and the Gemara tells us, Tan Rabbanan, Ma'asav Makom Echad Shahaya Arod. There was some kind of creature, I don't know if it's pronounced Arod or Arvad, but a Mazik Asabrios, so it would go ahead and injure many people. It would bite people. Hodil Rav Chanina ben Dosa. So Rav Chanina ben Dosa was informed and says, show me where this Arod hole is. They show him where his hideout is, where his hole is. He takes his heel and he puts it, stomps it on the hole, and the arod comes out, v'noshcho, and he bites Rav Chanina ben Dosa, v'meis, osa arod. And the arod, this snake, this lizard-type creature, goes ahead and dies. So the Gemara says, Natlal ksefav, Rav Chanina ben Dosa took it on his shoulders, v'heviu l'beis hamedrash, and brought it to the base hamedrash. And Amar lahem, ro'u banai, my children, take a look. Ein arod me'mis, ela hachet me'mis. It is not the arod, this lizard that kills, but it's chet that kills. And ba'osa sha'a, and at that point in time, there was a statement that came out of the base medrash, Oilo la'adam shepaga bo arod, v'oilo la'arod shepaga bo Rav Chanina ben Dosa. Woe is to the person who comes upon this lizard, because it's a very fatal lizard, and woe is to the lizard who comes upon Rav Chanina ben Dosa. Rav Chanina ben Dosa teaches us a very core yesod, and that is Ein ha'arod me'mis, ela hachet me'mis, is that the death that's inflicted by the seeming lizard It's not really, the lizard is a shliach. It's not the lizard that's inflicting anything. It's the will of Hashem that is coming forth and inflicting that damage. And indeed, the will of Hashem is that Rav Chanina ben Dosa is not going to be afflicted by the lizard. So then the lizard bites Rav Chanina ben Dosa, and the lizard itself, the arod, dies. Ein ha-arod memis, ela ha-chet memis. And that's the theme of the entire parsha of Zos Chukas HaTorah, is that when it comes to Tumah and Tahara, so again, the answer, what's Metame, what's Torah, it's not a physical, chemical phenomena. It's the will of Ribbono Shel Olam. Ribbono Shel Olam says, this is going to produce Tumah, this produces Tahara. That's exactly what happens. It's not the Nechashim that are going ahead and afflicting, creating the plague or creating the cure. Hashem says, this is what I want to happen on the plague side, this is what I want to happen on the cure side. That's exactly what happens. And indeed, the same exact thing when it comes to the Chet of Moshe. One time Hashem wanted to hit the rock, the second time He wants the rock spoken to. It's all the same exact theme. It's the will of Hashem. And indeed, that's the theme of this parsha. It's exactly why it comes on the heels of Parshas Korach. Korach had this common sense rebellion. Everything to be explained rationally. Everything has to be understood. Well, ultimately, perhaps all of religious life really needs to be understood in the context of Zos Chukas HaTorah. Very, very difficult thing. But modern man, especially for modern man, who we like our freedoms, we like our liberties, we like to have it all at our fingertips, and it all has to make perfect sense. Well, Zos Chukas HaTorah tells us the obligation, even if we don't fully understand, even if it seems paradoxical, it doesn't fit in clearly with our common sense. Zos Chukas HaTorah tells us a fundamental idea, an act of submission. And we have to go ahead and submit ourselves. Our ratzon, aseh ratzoncha, ki ritzono. That's the message of Zos Chukas HaTorah. That's the message of Paraduma. But it's not just the message of Paraduma. It's the message of the entire Torah. And to go ahead and think it's irrational, there's no rationale, there certainly is a rationale, but it might be beyond our human comprehension. To be able to submit our small little humanity to that which is so much greater than us, that's really the challenge of the Torah HaKadosh. It's the challenge, that's our mission. And in a world where we are looking for our own liberties, our own freedoms, and to do whatever we want, so perhaps that's this concept, the Zos Chukas HaTorah, something to keep in mind as we daven for our lost brothers. Our brothers are kidnapped, Gilad, Eyal, and Naphtali. As we daven for them, as we daven for all of Klal Yisrael, and hope for Yeshuos, and hope for Mashiach, the way to do so is a sense of submission. We're not going to understand everything. We're not going to understand a lot of things, but a true religious person, a true man of faith, understands the limitations and understands the paradoxes, or at least lives with the paradoxes, and that perhaps is the yesod and the message of Zos Chukas HaTorah. Have a beautiful, beautiful Shabbos.